everyone, so today I am finally doing a Tenrec care video, and for those of you who don't know, this is Finn, our Tenrec. You may have met him in some previous videos. I've been mentioning that I was going to do a care video on him for quite some time, but I had to wait for him to come out of torpor, which is sort of like partial hibernation. Today's video I am going to be talking about his care. Now please keep in mind that I am new to Tenrecs. He is my very first Tenrec. He's the very first one that I've ever had to care for, and all of my research I did specifically for him. So this isn't something that I have owned for years. We bought him in June of last year. In fact, he turns a year very soon this month. So take everything that I say with a grain of salt, and I will provide links down below for more information for you guys to learn even more about them. But today I'm just going to address some of their general care for those of you who are curious. Very soon I'll be doing a sort of hedgehogs versus Tenrecs video, because I know a lot of you think they look a lot alike. They are actually unrelated. He is not a type of hedgehog. He is a type of Tenrec. There are many different types of Tenrecs. So I believe over 30. So he is called a Madagascar lesser Tenrec, for those of you who are curious. So anyway, let's just hop into his care and things like that. The only thing that I won't be totally addressing in this video is his diet, because I do actually have a video covering everything he eats. And some of the nutritional requirements of Tenrecs and things like that I will link down below and in the cards for you guys to check out if you're curious about him or what he eats. But let's start with housing. A lot of you guys have seen his cage before, and if you haven't, I do have a video where I sort of show you an overview of it. But he is in a Midwest critter nation, just like the rest of my pets are. And Tenrecs are actually partially arboreal, which means he's got a little bit of poo on his hands. Sorry about that. But if you can see there, he actually has fingers. And those fingers make it so that he can hold on. See, you can see there. And he uses those little hands of his to hold on very tight. He has a very strong grip, and he'll climb his little cage. And because of this fact, their cages really should accommodate that, so that they can explore the way they naturally desire to. So a lot of cages you will see have quite a bit of height as well as floor space to them. There is no minimum cage standard that I know of. I believe floor space wise, you want at least a minimum of 18 by 30 inches. As you can probably tell, he is pretty small. He weighs just over 100 grams, which is actually smaller than my Syrian hamsters, or at least Lumi. So he's very small, and he is a fully grown Tenrec, or a fully grown lesser Tenrec, that is, which means he will not be getting any bigger, which means any cage that you get should have half-inch bar spacing or smaller. You don't want to go bigger than that, because they'll be able to slip out, and that would be quite the disaster, because they're so tiny you might not find them again. Isn't that right? Tenrecs actually do use wheels, just like hedgehogs, if you guys were curious. Finn actually has a flying saucer, because that has become the wheel that he prefers. But originally he did have a Carolina Storm Express wheel, and he also, you guys may have seen it before, but he had a wire wheel. Now, a lot of Tenrecs actually use wire wheels not to run on, but to sort of climb on, and I do believe I have a video of him doing that on Instagram if you go to my page, or you can go to the hashtag FinnTheTenrec, I believe, and you'll be able to find that video of him actually laying on his back and spinning the wheel on his back underneath it. So they use it more as a climbing frame than a sort of actual wheel. I temporarily at one point gave him a flying saucer and realized he absolutely loves them. So now that is his permanent wheel that he uses regularly. Tenrecs actually don't take water baths, in that I don't stick him in the bathtub and scrub them down with water and soap. They actually will clean themselves in sand. A lot of people use reptile sand. I use children's play sand, the same that I use for the hamsters. They keep themselves nice and clean, and you won't have to worry about giving them a good scrub down. I actually didn't see that Finn had poop on his wheel because it's tucked back behind some driftwood, so he is a little bit dirty now, but even that he will clean off on his own very efficiently. Inside their cage, they do actually need hides, but they also can have hanging hammocks and hanging snuggle sacks and vines and things like that can accommodate partially arboreal pets. You want to make sure that they can easily reach all of those items because they aren't very large. Even though they can climb, they still need access to everything that you're providing them. They're not quite like rats who can really reach things very efficiently. They need everything to be connected if they're going to use it. Finn's favorite thing in the world, he sleeps in it every night, is a hanging sugar glider pouch, and it connects to the door of his cage, and he sleeps in that every single night. Adult Tenrecs can comfortably be at room temperature most of the time. However, when they're very young, it's recommended to keep them quite warm. I kept Finn around 78 degrees, and that seemed to keep him eating normally the longest. Even now that he's turning 1, I do still keep the pet room quite warm for him. I just want to make sure that he's staying warm. He is a Madagascar lesser Tenrec, which means his natural climate is quite warm as is. But many Tenrecs do sit comfortably at room temperature with no additional heating required. It's totally up to you what you decide to do. I have had better success with keeping him heated than I have not. Now, when you were looking at his feet, you might have noticed that their nails are quite long. This is, again, to help with climbing. So you can see them there. This helps them keep grip. Oh, look, he's modeling for you. Perfect, Finn. That's to help them keep grip. That is actually, he recently had them trimmed, so that is actually about as short as they'll be. The best way for naturally keeping them filed down is to provide things in their cage that they can climb on that will naturally file them down, such as driftwood and stones and things like that. He particularly loves his little driftwood log. I'd love to get him some more. Driftwood's a little pricey, so I haven't. But now that he's finally waking up for this season, I'd love to get him some more, so that he can naturally file his nails down, because they did get quite long while he was hibernating. So speaking of hibernation, let's talk about that. Tenrecs during the winter months, usually towards the end of fall, up until about the beginning of spring, right around this time, they will go into torpor or hibernation. Because Finn was so young during his first one, their first year, they typically go into a very light torpor, or a partial torpor, if you will, where they will still eat more than your average adult Tenrec. So your average adult Tenrec will likely eat very, very little. A couple pieces of kibble here and there, a worm or two here and there. They're very, very minimal eaters during this time. Their body slows down. They sleep a lot. Of course, is the nature of hibernation. They become very cold to the touch. Tenrecs actually are quite cold to the touch to begin with, but they become additionally very chilly. They will continue this activity of increased sleeping and reduced activity and reduced eating all through the winter pretty much, and then they will start to wake up again during the spring, beginning of spring. He's just now returning back to normal, and it's the beginning of April right now. Now, of course, even though they're hibernating during the winter months, that does not mean that you don't have to take care of them or anything like that. You do need to still continue to keep fresh water and things up, because they will wake up from time to time and come out and get fresh water or do things. It just is very infrequent. I've heard of Tenrecs eating as little as a piece of kibble a week. So it varies based on the Tenrec in question, but hibernation can be quite dramatic, especially if you're a first-time owner like myself. I was very nervous when he would go a night without eating. It was very stressful for me the first month or so, just worrying about him constantly. I'll touch on their diets a little bit. I do have a video for them about that, but they are predominantly insectivores, meaning that you will have to provide them with a predominantly insect-based diet. Finn is on loads of feeders, or he was last summer. He is still currently a little bit iffy on most things because he's waking up. But you can check out my diet video to see some of the stuff that he was eating when he was nice and awake. Tenrecs also should be on a staple kibble. These are really good for emergency situations. You obviously cannot take insects with you if there was some sort of emergency situation. So keeping them on a staple diet of kibble can really help that out. You really want their kibble to be a high quality food, usually high quality kitten food. Their protein should remain above about 30%, and their fat should be around 15 to 20% because they have very speedy metabolisms when they are actually awake and not hibernating. Another thing you want to be wary of is their calcium intake. Tenrecs can become calcium deficient fairly easily, so you do want to make sure that you are supplementing them at least for their first year, especially if they aren't fans of kibble, because some Tenrecs aren't fans of cat kibble. So that's something to be aware of. Again, you can check out my diet video for things like that if you're interested on how I take care of his calcium intake. Sorry, I know I keep putting him up to the camera, but he's just so darn cute, and there's no sun shining right there. I feel bad. Here we go. Push him back a little. So yeah, I think that's all I'm going to be covering in today's video. If I missed out on something that you guys are particularly curious about, go ahead and leave it in a comment down below and I will answer as quickly as I can. Like I mentioned, I am a relatively new Tenrec owner. This is still my first year of owning a Tenrec. I'm still learning, and I was really weary about making videos about them just because I am still learning. So I'm going to leave a bunch of links down below where you guys can read up about Tenrec some more, some information that I didn't include in this video, in case you're curious. And that way you can do some more research beyond this video. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I hope you enjoyed seeing Finn, and he and I will see you in our next video.